Thank you, April, for announcing us, and Jacqueline, thank you. I'm really thrilled to have you here on stage. Also great to see this presence. Before I take it away, Jacqueline, could you do me the honor and tell us something about yourself before I take it away, please?
Yes, of course. My name is Jacqueline Gooyer. I'm working for Rabobank. I'm working for the international part of Rabobank. My role is a senior tech lead, and I'm taking care for IT of wholesale and rural customers.
Thank you. Welcome again. My name is Jaime Conejo Verheijden. I run the digital practice, digital process automation practice across continental Europe. Infosys is a global strategic long-lasting partner of Appian. Besides the work that we do for our clients, we also collaboratively with Appian develop go-to-market strategies and solutions to even further streamline and digitize processes for our future and existing customers. But today I'm having the honor to get on stage and actually talk about a real-life case example on exactly how we, together with Appian, are helping a customer of ours. As you can see, Rabobank. I think we all know the brand Rabobank. I personally know Rabobank predominantly for my time in the Netherlands, where I got to know them for their financial services that they provided for the B2C customers. Now, looking at the global aspect, I think the majority of us know Rabobank for their presence and activities that they do for the B2B markets, especially in the wholesale and rural area. And in fact, that is the area that I would like to talk with you about today, because you told me also, and that's what I would like you to elaborate a bit on, you identified that you wanted to change your client lifecycle landscape. Now, can you elaborate us a bit on how you wanted to change that and how you did that?
Yes, I can. Well, a couple of years ago, we had more than 20 different legacy applications in which we entered client data. Those were client administrations, but also product systems. And by the way, those applications were running on different geographical locations. Everything was connected to everything. We had multiple point-to-point interfaces, including manual interfaces, copying the data from one application to the other. That resulted in a complex and fragmented process. It was also very difficult to identify a unique client because every application had its own client identifier. As you can imagine, this was not very helpful in our commercial process. If a relationship manager was busy with selling a loan, a facility, or a financial markets product, he or she had to dig in multiple systems to retrieve the right data. And also, our internal audit department had an opinion on this, not to mention our external regulators. So we started with the cleaning up of the data river, because you could say that we polluted the data river in many ways. The current situation is totally different. We work with one unique client identifier, we call it the GSID. And from one central application, all the client data is distributed to more than 30 consuming systems, and they use it for commercial or regulatory reasons. We have a clear, integrated lifecycle process. The data is timely, it's complete, it's correct, and last but not least, we have a simplified landscape which saves cost.
Wow, that really sounds like a good improvement. I love the way you put it. That obviously calls out the question, how does Appian help you guys in achieving that?
Let me tell you something about that. In 2018, we started with designing a new client data architecture. And we did a lot of talking to explain the necessity of that new architecture. And most of all, we convinced our international branches that they had to work with a global system, that it was better to work with one global system. Within Rabobank, that is quite something. You might know that we are a cooperation, and it is in our culture that the work floor has a large mandate. Every international branch was used to take their own decisions. And of course, if you are used to taking your own decisions, it is quite something to start working with one global application. And also, the international branches were convinced that they were special and that they had unique requirements. And not fulfilling those requirements, well, they told me that would kill the sales, would not be approved by local regulators, and so on. Believe me, I heard it all. Now, then we had to solve this, and we considered multiple options. We considered that we could build it on our own, completely from scratch. And we also considered that we could buy a complete off-the-shelf solution. But building it completely from scratch would take years. And buying an off-the-shelf solution, that would end in difficult discussions with our international branches, because there would be no room for their specials. Then in 2019, we had a conversation with Infosys. And they advised us, you should go for a workflow and for a low-code package. And that advice, that was also confirmed by the internal Rabobank architect. And he is in the audience at this moment. And that same architect, he also took a look to the Gartner website, and he saw Appian in the top right corner of the workflow quadrant. He downloaded the trial, and long story short, we bought Appian, and together with Infosys, we created the party module with it. And now the party module is our global application in which we enter and maintain our client data. And maybe also something to say about the status of the rollout of the party module. So we did implementations in Asia, so we started in Asia, then we did Europe. Last year or last month we did North America, and at this moment we are busy with the implementation of the Netherlands, and after that only South America will remain.
I'm happy to see that we still are able to... No, hold on. Not finished. Not finished yet. I'm happy that we can fulfill with Appian, your unique ways of working, while still providing that application. But I hear all these capabilities that you're calling out about Appian, but I'm sure that these were not the only reasons why you chose for Appian. Can you tell us a little bit also about the non-functional requirements that you have that are so important, especially for financial industries nowadays?
Yeah, I'm a technical lead, so I'm not from business. So the non-functionals are also very important, but they will also help business. And I can give a couple of examples. We have chosen for Appian also because it's fully cloud-native technology. And let me give you a couple of examples why that is so beneficial. I think the main example is that updates are being pushed automatically and then without breaking the application. If your updates are being pushed automatically, lifecycle management is not an issue anymore. And as some of you might know, lack of lifecycle management causes vulnerabilities into the application, and then you become vulnerable for hackers, especially for ransomware attacks. And that is something which is on the top 1 concern list of a bank. And besides that, it's also very useful that you can make use of the newest technology every quarter and you don't have to test it, you can just use it. Second example is that the application is always on. So we did not face in the last year any unplanned downtime. Within Rabobank, we still have a lot of on-prem applications, and for that applications, twice a year we have to do a disaster recovery test. And I can tell you that is nasty, because it takes time, it has to be done in the weekend. And none of our business users becomes excited if we have done a successful disaster recovery test. So you could say it's waste. Of course, it is fulfilling a purpose, but not a specific business purpose.
No.
Then I think it's very flexible. So if you need extra data storage or you need extra processing capacity, you can just order it, and then in less of a day it has been arranged. And also provisioning is important, so spinning up or spinning down an extra environment, test or production environments, that is all very easy. And last, the low footprint for the developer workplaces. So for our on-prem applications, our developers often use a power laptop, but those are expensive and it works fine when you develop in the Netherlands. But if you want to develop offshore in India, that is not a possibility, so then you have to work with the VDI. That causes all kinds of troubles. With Appian technology, that's all gone, because you can just develop in the cloud, and that works very easily. So I think that are the main benefits. There are more, but I think those are nice examples.
Great insight, great insight. I would really love to ask you more queries, but while looking at the time, I think I have to wrap up. But please, if you can, be at the booth for anyone to have if they want to have a detailed discussion, please be available at our booth. Thank you for sharing with us the insights today. I hope also the audience understand a bit more why Rabobank chose Appian, to be their technology of choice for this journey. I heard process simplification, security, data-centric approach, and obviously also a bit of a less headache because of the automatic updates. Audience, thanks for joining me on the stage, and thanks for listening in.
Thank you.